Welcome to the uni-max workshop. You definitely know this workbench from the previous video, even if you might not recognize it completely. This is because it has a brand new coating and also because it is in a different environment than it was in the previous video, and that is only thanks to the new chassis. I deliberately say chassis because these are not just ordinary wheels, but we'll get to that in a moment. In the first video, I promised to give you a few tips to help your workbench last as long as possible like new. The manufacturer itself recommends that you should apply some protective coating to the workbench no later than 1 month after unpacking. I have arrived at the conclusion of using linseed oil after consulting directly with the company Ramia. Specifically, I used Workbench, and it's important to paint the workbench completely everywhere. This means not only the top surface and what is visible, but the whole thing. Of course, the entire base from the bottom side. If you want to be as diligent as I am, then you should also paint those holes for the dowels with a small brush this bracket. Well, basically everything that comes to mind, everything that is wooden. And don't worry, if you have this particular cabinet, go ahead and finish it too, because even though it's made of particle board, it's veneered with real wood, so it absorbs the finish beautifully. According to the manufacturer's recommendation, you should not keep the workbench in areas where the relative humidity exceeds 60%. So now let's talk about the chassis. I believe that the most important characteristic of a workbench or any work table is its stability. And at the moment you put that work table on wheels, the stability is never as good as when it stands on its own legs. Therefore, I wanted wheels that solve all of this. And there's one more trick. These wheels can either be attached directly to the work table or to such mounting plates. The advantage is that you can buy any number of mounting plates. They are not that expensive, and there are also work tables available for mounting, as well as other machines. However, since a set of wheels is quite expensive, you can buy just one and then simply move it between the individual tables or machines. And there is one more thing related to that. In the last video, some of you noticed that the workbenches looked quite small, or rather low, compared to my stature. And it was like that because they only have a base height of 85 centimeters. Which is really too low for me. But I understand that it may suit someone else, and shortening a tall workbench is a bigger problem than raising the low one. Well, I solved it by making some additional supports for the base. The workbench not only achieved the 95 centimeters working height that I needed, but it also allows for the installation of wheels, because otherwise, the structure of the base doesn't work well with those wheels at all. So, I actually killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Come and see how it went. When I placed the spacers underneath the crossbars of the base, I noticed that in one spot, the crossbar is not completely level. It just wobbles there. So I had to take a big carpenter's plane and run both strips through twice, which means shaving them down by 1 millimeter or so. This perfectly aligned everything. The surface is now perfectly flat, and the fittings sit beautifully on it. Now, it was necessary to drill holes into the braces in the base. I have decided not to glue the so-called inserts permanently, but to screw them in using solid construction screws, 8x100, and them with a flat head. To speed up the work, you can first use a cordless drill, but after the final tightening, I recommend using a ratchet. We will screw the mounting plates onto the base. Again, to speed up the work, I used a drill screwdriver. After this final tightening, I used a regular screwdriver, but to have more force, I also inserted a second screwdriver into the handle as a lever. And with that, I've finished. Now all that's left is to attach the wheels and test their functionality. Everything is working as it should. Great, so we can put the base with the wheels on the ground. I will drive 2 dowels with a diameter of 10 millimeters into the base, which will define the position of the work surface. It fit perfectly there. Then I just need to secure it from the bottom with 4 screws, and it's done. Great, now let's go try it out. At the moment you actually release the wheel, it stays in the air, and the workbench stands on its own legs with its full weight, making it truly stable. Conversely, when you want to move the workbench again, you step on that lever. And this raises the workbench into the transport position. There is as much space under that leg as the radius of the wheel. Finally, wedges are cut to the correct length and glued like this to the end of the trough, so that any items that may remain in the trough can be easily swept out. And I have one more tip for you. Specifically, make at least one end of the spindle disassemblable. It came in handy for me now because I was replacing the quick release clamp with the original classic one. I just prefer it more. I could simply disassemble the handle and use it again in the other vise. Anyway, I know that when I need it, I don't have to cut or pry anything. I just need to unscrew that screw, and I have the wrecking tool available. If I think of anything else about the Workbench in the future, or if you do, please write it in the comments, and I will be happy to share those experiences with you. For now, that's all about the Ramia workbenches. I hope this has helped you at least a little. You can find links to all the products, as usual, in the description below the video. Thank you for watching, take care, and see you soon in the uni-max workshop.